last year about the whole going all in thing. Do you officially think they're going in? All in?
No. I don't think Jerry knows what all in means because he went all in last year and they did
different
nothing.
definition of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Brian Schottenheimer, this is no shot against Brian Schottenheimer. He may end up being a really good coach. But I think it was a ho-hum signing. You know, they didn't even do like an extensive coaching search. So I think that speaks to it's going to be business as usual for the Cowboys. We got a coach that we think is solid. He's not going to, ruffle any feathers with Jerry. It's going to be kind of some stuff. Right, in-house guy. And so I don't think they're, going to go out there and make any noise on the free agent market. They haven't done that in about 10 years.
The last big-time signing was my dear friend from Kansas City, Brandon Carr. They signed him to...
That was more than 10 years
ago. Yeah, I mean, I was still doing radio in Kansas City. So it was free agency of 2012. They signed Brandon Carr to 5 years, $50 million. Go ahead.
Wasn't Greg Hardy?
Greg Hardy, not a ton of money, though. It's not like they brought in Greg Hardy. And listen, they brought in Brandon Cooks. But as far as like a day one of free agency,
well, they usually
we're going out We're going out and signing a ton of money.
Second wave of free agents and stuff. Yeah. So no, I think Jerry knows that I have a good team that can compete enough to keep us in the playoff hunt, keep our fans filling the stadium, and keep us on television as far as talk shows like this. I think that's what Jerry's goal is. Even though he talks about Super Bowls, he wants to make money.
Yeah, look, I don't mind the Brian Schottenheimer hire. To me, Brian has a chance to be just as good as any of these other first-year head coaches. I've known Brian for a long time. He was my offensive coordinator at the Jets. I hired him from the Chargers when he was there. And he's smart. He's got a great pedigree. His father Marty was an outstanding coach for a long time. So I think that you can make an argument that matches anybody else. Okay, and then the bringing in Matt Eberflus, and Matt's been a very good defensive coordinator in the league.
I like that one.
And I think he simplifies the defense in a way similar to the way that they had before, where the guys can really play fast. And I liked what they did last year, but there's a lot of thinking, and that takes time for it to be really effective. So there's that. But from Micah's standpoint of going all in, he says that. But how can they? They're minus $2.8 million on the cap, so they're over the cap by $2.8 million. Micah wants to get paid. Right. Okay, well you're not even a free agent, so if we pay you, we have less money. There's 25 free agents on the roster. You got to fill those holes. Yeah, they've got 10 draft picks, but only 3 of them are in the first 3 rounds. The rest of them are 5th, 6th, and a 7th. So you're not, you may get some hits in the later rounds, but there's not a lot of avenues. So you can't go out in free agency because Micah wants to get paid. So what are they going all in with?
Right. Let me defend Micah for a moment here, because my guess is Micah this is where the salary cap's weird, will become the highest paid defensive player ever, and his cap hit for this year will go down. Because his cap hit for this year is $24 million. I would guess this year it ends up being less than that. And even if his average salary is $36 million a year, which it probably will be, their problem is the Dak deal handcuffs him. So Dak's deal starts this year. It's 4 years, $240 million. That's $60 million a year on average. But they owe $50 million in cap allocation from his last deal moving forward. So they owe $290 million cap dollars to Dak Prescott over the next 4 years, which is why his cap hits are $90 million this year. 68, 61, 72. Now, obviously, they're going to rework it a bit so that $90 million comes down, but that's just so they can sign a few of their own guys. They're not. We are going to look back on this entire mini era of Cowboys football and say that Dak deal was a fork in the road moment. They chose to pay him, and now they're just going to keep running back the same team.
Yeah. So, in typical Cowboys fashion, they do a couple interesting moves that could be productive, and then many other moves that you're kind of like, what are you doing? This is going to be same old, as well as handcuff themselves for the future, like Nick really kind of highlighted with everything with Dak. I do think Eberflus and all that will actually be great. I kind of made the argument, and I acknowledge that this is not the way how football works, but like what would have been best for the Bears is just demote Eberflus and say, hey, you've got this defense going great. You're just not a good head coach, so we're going to demote you. You're just going to be the defensive coordinator. Like, that's how other businesses are actually run. It's not how football's run. And again, obviously, I get why not, but I do think that defense could be pretty legit. I think the big question mark with the offense is obviously what we think it is, and I understand why Mangini's going to go to bat for him, which is why, you know, when you kind of have those that type of history with each other, listening to Mangini's opinion on him on you know on the Cowboys head coach is probably not the best source of unbiased views on it. But the reality is like, this is who the Dallas Cowboys are going to consistently be right now in this Dak Prescott, Jerry Jones little duo era here. Like, they're going to be pretty good. They're going to be far from great. They're going to have moments where they absolutely dominate bad teams. They'll contend for the division, but, you know, kinda. And there's no actual path towards the Super Bowl. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. And the biggest problem that the Dallas Cowboys face now compared to previous years is that in previous years, they were able to even take a step forward or just stay at the top of their 12 wins and et cetera, based on other teams not taking a step forward. And that's not the case. The Eagles have obviously taken a gigantic step forward. They won the Super Bowl. The Washington Commanders have taken a gigantic step forward. They went to the NFC Championship game. And they're going to get better. This past year was the worst Jaden Daniels and that Washington Commanders team will be. That roster is going to get better. Jaden Daniels is going to get better. Dan Quinn, as Dallas Cowboys fans know, he's going to make that defense right once he actually has the pieces. Cliff Kingsbury and Jaden Daniels are going to continue to grow and evolve in their player-coach relationship and dynamic. So that alone now makes the division significantly harder. It's a coin flip whether or not the Giants can get something going, depending on what decision they make. Do they get Stafford? You know, what do they do? Who really knows? But honestly, if they just had a better quarterback, that team would be significant. That game, those teams would no longer, the Giants would no longer just be like a guaranteed, 2 wins. And that's what the Cowboys have been able to thrive off of. Guaranteed 4-0 against the Giants and the Commanders, and then typically split with the Eagles. Boom, that's 5-1, just like that. Just like that. 5-1. And dominating the Giants and Commanders and beefing up those numbers. Everyone's eating, everyone's happy. Good vibes only. Hashtag, Cowboys forever. But like, those days are gone. Those days are gone. Those games are going to be harder. Those games are going to be more physical. Those games are going to be more exhausting. And those games will also, to a degree, potentially also impact the next week as well now. Because they're not going to be easy blowouts. It's not going to be like, hey, we get to sit all our starters going into the fourth. Just different energy, man. Different energy. And you have now the Rams that, whether they run it back with Stafford, they're going to be better as long as they stay healthy. Or they're making moves that within the next couple of years, they're going to be, ready to pounce. I mean, they draft incredibly well, and they've consistently built incredibly great teams. You have the Lions. That Lions roster, as long as they figure out the coordinating situation, that roster is still that roster. They still got a bunch of dudes on that team. So there's no real strong reason to believe that the Lions are going to take some massive step back. Could they take a similar Philadelphia Eagles 22-23 step back? Sure. Is that still a team that is a force to be reckoned with? Absolutely. Absolutely. And the difference is that Lions team is a little bit more experienced now compared to what happened with that Eagles Super Bowl all the way dropped down to 23. You have the Bears. Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, that team is going to take a massive step forward. That team is going to be better. So you have enough of these teams now that are also going to be better. So in order for you to either keep up or be better than those teams, you have to make some really big decisions. Or you have to have an awesome coach-quarterback combination. The Dallas Cowboys do not have that. They do not have that. So they'll be good. And yeah, they'll win a close game against maybe like the Rams or something. Or they'll blow out, who are they going to play? The Arizona Cardinals. And Dak Prescott will be interviewed. Hey, this is what we're capable of doing. We know that when we work together, we're one of the best teams in the NFL and no one can beat us, blah, 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 blah. And you're just going to get the same type of sound bites that we get every single year. And then these guys will talk at the table. Is this year different? Micah's playing hungry this year. Etc., etc., etc. But it's just going to be the same outcome, man. Like, why would we think something's going to be different? The only way something can be different is if you make different decisions. And I'm not a fan of being like, well, this team did this in 2017 and 18 and 19, and therefore that's... No, not if you make different decisions. They are not making different decisions. They're making the same type of decisions season after season after season. And again, even this question right here, believe Dallas will actually go all in. In what capacity? How can they possibly go all in? What moves can they make? They don't have the draft capital. They don't have the salary cap. Like, what moves can they make? Who's signing up to say, I want to play in Dallas right now? Like, Micah's trying to recruit Myles Garrett. And he goes, hey, come on, let's go beat the Avengers and Friends or something. And it's like, Myles Garrett really wants to win a ring. That's why he wants out of Cleveland. And you think he's going to want to go to the Dallas Cowboys? Have Dak Prescott as your quarterback? Schottenheimer as your head coach? Huh? Jerry Jones as your owner slash GM slash cheerleader slash media representative slash honorary ball boy? Like, Myles Garrett's at the end of his career now. He knows he only has like a handful more of great years left in him. And he's just an injury away from it just never getting back to what he was. You think he's going to want to come to the Dallas Cowboys? That's the problem when you create such a bad, weird, bizarre culture. That's the problem when you pay your good quarterback, not great, not elite, not special, but good quarterback, more money than Patrick Mahomes. So no. What moves could they possibly make? Who's available in a way that really moves the needle in a way that they could afford? Because you could be like, oh, well, they could get like T. Higgins and Myles Garrett and, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I don't know about that. What moves are they going to be able to make in the draft? So, I think it's just the same story with Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones. That is what this era is. It is the Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott era. From, 2016? And there's no real reason to believe that anything will change. And even if you put together a pretty good team that can win 11, 12 games, get to the playoffs, under what circumstances do you envision Dak Prescott stepping up? Divisional round, NFC Championship game. If the Cowboys somehow manage their way to a Super Bowl, do you really sit back and see yourself imagining that Dak Prescott would outduel Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen? Do you really see that? Or do you really see that the Cowboys are going to build a team that would even be able to compete? And they're going to be able to do it this offseason with their draft capital, with their salary cap situation, with this head coach and these coordinators. Listen, if you want to tell yourself that, by all means. By all means. It's good to have some hope and optimism for the next 6-7 months before the season starts. So I get it. I get it. Sometimes you also just got to face reality. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Dallas Cowboys? Do you believe that they'll actually go all in and finally be a legitimate contender? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.